Are you about to make a massively important decision in your life, but you're not able to weigh the pros and cons and make a quick decision that's going to put your mind at peace? Or maybe this decision is going to have a large impact financially, emotionally, physically, relationship-wise on you and the people around you? Look, I'm going to share a small exercise with you that's going to absolutely help you make that decision better. Stick around to the end of the video. My name is Fahd Dawood. I talk about real estate, your life and my life, and both of us and everybody watching, allowing tons of financial abundance to come to us. This is a small exercise that I learned during a course. It was called Strategic Visions. This course changed my life. It's a course run over 3 days, okay, 3 or 4 days, so to speak. Sometimes it's shorter and sometimes it's a little longer. I'm going to just take one little mini exercise from that course and actually give a demonstration for you right now so that you can apply the same technique to your life and learn from it and actually practically apply it to your life, okay? I'm going to assume that you, whoever it might be, are 30 years old. So I'm going to run this exercise with somebody who's 30-year-old and then help them give serious thought to their life vision or their life plan. Where do they assume they are going, okay? So now I want you to take, if you're going to do this exercise with me, take a piece of paper and pen. You can pause now, get a piece of paper and pen, and draw a little snake like this that goes from 2020, which is right now, and then increase the years by tens, okay? 2030, 2040, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 3000, okay? Now, whatever your age is, you write it over here in 2020. As I said, I am taking somebody who's 30 years old. So I'm taking this person at 30 years old and I'm going to help them define their life vision. If you're 25, you can put it here. If you're 45, you can put it here, okay? And all I want you to do is progress your age in tens, okay? So in 2030, this person who I'm going to show you, this person is going to be 40 years. In 2040, they're going to be 50. Then in 2050, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. And the year 3000, they're going to be 110 years old. So, and let's assume that somewhere here, they exit this physical body, right? And their soul continues to live, but they exit. What I want you to do is, after you've done this exercise, just look at this. Okay, so just look at how old are you going to be 20 years from now. So we're in 2020 right now. My subject is going to be 30 years in 2020. And 2030, this person's 40 years old. And in 2040, this person's 50 years old, okay? How old are you going to be in 20 years' time? Okay, and what I want you to do is I want you to take a piece of paper and pen and write down your age in 2020 and then your age in 2040. Okay, once you've done that, I want you to take 5 to 10 minutes, take a break, you can hit pause, and then envision, where do you see yourself 20 years from now in 2040, okay? Okay, so what I want you to do is write your age. So this person's 30 and is going to be 50 years old in 2040. And then the question that you should ask yourself is, my vision in 2040 for myself when I am 50 years old, okay? That's the question what you should ask. Now here's the thing. You might ask for some clarification with me and say, look, I can't predict the future. I don't even know if I'm going to be alive. So let me answer that. Pretend and assume that you're still alive 20 years from now. That's good news to begin with. Secondly, people will be like, I can't predict the future. I don't know where life is headed. That's fine. Nobody is asking you to predict the future. All I'm saying is envision it. Imagine it. If you need to close your eyes, that's fine as well. Just imagine, where do you think you're going to be in 20 years from now? Go on, hit the pause button and actually do it. Come on, I'm watching. Come on, do it. Come back after you've done it. Take 5 minutes, take 10 minutes. Pause, come back after you've done it. Okay, cool. So I hope you actually did that exercise, and we don't really need to, I don't need to erase this right now because I can use this side, okay? Here's what I'm going to do. Here's how I'm going to show you how this exercise goes forward with anybody sitting at home, okay? Essentially speaking, what you do is read aloud whatever you have envisioned, and after you've read it out aloud, you're going to allow me to help you start thinking more and more about where your life might be envisioned by you in 20 years from now, okay? So here's my question to, let's say, my subject who's 30 years old, and you're going to follow through on this, okay? So I hope it's easy to see here. So let's just start here. I'm going to ask this person, where do you see yourself financially, okay? So financially, okay? Now, I'm going to start making the questions broader and as well as narrowing them down. What do I mean? Where do you see yourself financially? Do you see yourself running a business, or do you see yourself still employed for your income, right? So business or employed. Okay, how much money do you feel you've got in the bank account? How much money do you feel you've got in the bank account? Do you have any houses? Do you own a house? Do you rent a house 20 years from now? Which countries are you predominantly living in, right? So if you're based in Dubai, do you continue to live in Dubai? If you're based in your home country in the UK, do you wish to, when you're 20 years from now, if you, let's say, are 30 and, you know, when you're 50, so 30 today and 50 in 20 years, do you wish to be still living in the same country, or do you want to have a house in several different countries? How much monthly income do you wish to gain, right? So how much monthly do you want to have? So this person, let's say 30 years old, is going to tell me, hey, I want houses in 5 continents or 5 countries. I want a monthly income of $1 million. Okay. I want investments or savings of at least 10 million. And I want one big house in Dubai, for instance. And I want to be a business owner. I no longer want to be an employee. Good. So, you know, if that's what you're envisioning for yourself at 20 years further down the road, that's perfect. Nothing wrong with that. That's awesome. If you want all of this, that's nothing wrong. Some people might not want all of this. Some people might just want, you know, one house and that's it. That's also okay. All right, cool. Now, the second question I would ask is, if you're going to be so wealthy, decently rich, even if you don't agree on the definition of wealthy, would you like to be sharing that with your family, right? Would you like to have a family? Would you like to be married? Would you like to have kids? Would you like all of that? And I'm going to say, and this person, let's say, says, yes, I would like all of that, right? So the second main thing I would talk about is, where do you see yourself in terms of family? Now, this 30-year-old person tells me they definitely see marriage in the cards. And the way they're going to define it is, say, I'm going to ask them, do you want a small family, big medium family, or large family? And they say, maybe I want a medium family with 2 kids, 1 wife, so on and so forth, which is fair enough. So he wants 1 wife, 2 kids. And because he's 30, I'm going to say, okay, that's fine. Do you have a wife already? Or are you planning on finding one? And he tells me that I'm planning on getting married at 35. By that time, I'll have my wife. And so what I'm going to say to him, that's great, no problem, right? So if you want 2 kids, maybe you could have one at 37 and the other at 39. So by the time you are 50, your child, one's going to be about 13 years old and the other is going to be about 11 years old. Does that make sense? And are you comfortable with that as the reality or your vision of your life, right? If you're 50, your child's 11 and your child's 13. And then I might ask him, like, you know, do you want them to be schooled in this country or your home country? Do you want them to go to university, etc., so on and so forth? And what you do also then need to recognize is that if you believe in the traditional role of getting your children married, helping them out, you know, if this person's 13 and 11 and you married at 35 and they marry at, let's say, 35, I'm just saying, you know, maybe kids follow their dad's example, you're gonna probably be getting your kids married at the ripe old age of, so if they're 13 when you are 50 and there is another 22 years to go, you're going to be 72 by the time they get married, and if they have kids, you're going to be 74 or 75 by the time you have your first grandkids. So now, is that important for you? Do you want to be around, active and run around with your grandkids? Maybe it's not important, maybe you don't care. That's fine. It's just something for you to consider, okay? Now, if you've got this family, that's great, right? And you want to be financially so successful, is it possible that you would also consider a certain amount of further education? Perhaps you've got a bachelor's degree and you want a master's, perhaps you want a PhD, or do you want to just study more, you know, understand more about life, go and do courses for business, you know, because if you're going to be making this much money, you're going to have to develop yourself and train yourself to do better and better and better, right? Okay, great. Let's use this part of the board here now. So, okay, so we've got financially, the family, and education. Where do you see yourself another 20 years? Do you want to write books? You know, maybe you want to write books. Basically, education is intellectual development, okay? Do you wish to intellectually develop yourself further, okay? Then I want to talk about spiritual, okay? Are you a religious person, okay? Do you wish to be, so let's just do it like this. Okay, I'm kind of ruining the markers, but that's fine, we'll get some new ones. So do you want to be more spiritual? Be more religious? If you're Muslim, do you want to make more pilgrimages to Mecca maybe? Do you want to study about your religion more? Do you want to become a more spiritual person at the age of 50? At the age of 50, yeah? Do you see yourself more spiritually inclined and more awake spiritually or religious, you know? This could be religious as well, okay? Last but not the least, at the ripe old age of 50 years old, remember the guy in my example is 30 now and is going to be 50 in 2040, okay? Do you see yourself that you can walk 5 kilometers, jog, or run 5 kilometers? Where do you want to see yourself? So essentially speaking, now what I've done for you is taken you through an envisioning, an imaginary, and not an imaginary, but an envisioning exercise of 5 key areas of your life. Now, obviously you could add more, but just to keep the brevity and keep it a little short so that we can close this under 20 minutes perhaps, is I've taken you through where do you see yourself 20 years financially now? Where do you see, what kind of family do you think you're gonna have? Where do you see yourself education or intellectually? Where do you see yourself spiritually? And where do you see yourself health-wise, okay? So you're not gonna be able to see this now. We're gonna work on this side. And what I'm gonna do essentially is I'm gonna establish this here. Okay, I hope you can see this, okay? This is you 30 years old today, okay? And essentially speaking, this is 1 year, this is 5 years, this is 10 years, this is 15 years, and this is 20 years, okay? And essentially speaking, right here is you 50 years old in 2040, okay? Does that make sense? Now, if this is year 1, this is year 5, this is year 10, this is year 15, and this is year 20, essentially speaking, I hope you will agree with me that the way your life should progress is essentially you should be here in year 1, here in year 5, here in year 10, here in year 15, and then here in year 50 because, year 2040, because this point essentially represents all of this, okay? So this point represents all of this. And what do I mean by represents all of this? Essentially, this point means that financially you, as we did for this exercise of this person who's 30 years old, essentially what it means is that at here, you have all of this as in your life, okay? So financially, you're making $1 million a month, you've got $10 million in savings, you've got houses in several countries, you've got a business that's running very well. Perhaps you're not running it yourself, it's running fairly well with your employees and your CEO and general manager. As a family, you've got a wife, you've got 2 kids, you're married, educationally, intellectually, you've just decided to do some courses and maybe write some books. Spiritually, you're definitely looking to study further and become more spiritually. And then health-wise, we never talked about this. Perhaps you're looking to jog 5 kilometers when you're 50. Well, that's pretty okay. That's pretty decent, even if you can't run. I think if you can jog 5 kilometers without taking a break, I think you're fairly healthy. And let's assume all of this is this point here when you're 50 years old. Now, if that's the point, what you're going to agree with me is you're going to agree that your life starting from here should be at this point at year 1, should be at this point at year 5, this point at year 10, this point at year 15, and this point at year 20. Now, most of you will agree, if this is going to be the progression of your life, that means your vision, that where you see yourself 20 years from now, you'd be pretty happy, right? Pretty happy. Now I'm gonna ask you a question. Let's say that instead of there, you ended up here, okay? Slightly off where you envision your life. But when you're slightly off, it still means that instead of $10 million, you've got about $8 million in your bank as savings. Instead of making $1 million in monthly income, you're making $800,000, okay? And the rest is pretty much still the same. You got this one wife, you're happy with her, you love her, but instead of 2 kids, you got 1 child. Let me ask you an honest question. And instead of being able to jog here, you actually focused really well on your health, you're able to run over here. So this signifies just a little bit off of where you envisioned yourself. Would you be okay with that? The honest answer I personally would expect is, okay, right? I wanted $10 million, I've got 8. I wanted $1 million as monthly income, I've got $800,000 coming in. I wanted perhaps 3 houses or 5 houses, but I've got 3. And, you know, I figured more houses meant more maintenance for somebody, you know, so I didn't really care for it. I personally think you'd be pretty okay and pretty happy with that, okay? Question number 2. If you ended up here, okay? If you ended up here, and this meant instead of $10 million in savings, $12 million. Instead of $1 million monthly income, it meant $13 million. Instead of 1 wife and 2 kids, it meant 1 wife and 3 kids. And you know, maybe you're still able to jog and, you know, educationally you wrote 3 or 4 books. Yeah, you'd say, pretty happy, I'm pretty okay. Things turned out okay. So would it be okay and fair for us to say that the general area of this zone is going to be okay for you, regardless of where you end up? It's going to be okay? Good. So if you described your vision of where you wanted to be, and you were just a little bit shy or a little bit better off, you'd be happy. Okay, I'm happy for you as well. But what if you ended up somewhere here? And this, let's make it in black. This symbolized no savings or only $1 million in savings, no real good monthly income. Perhaps you did get married, but you don't have children, or perhaps you didn't get married. Whatever the case would be, if you end up here 20 years from now, would this be also a good vision of your life? Would you be happy? Would you be okay? Now, in certain circumstances, you could say, yeah, if it's destiny, that's fine. That's another argument altogether. But generally speaking, you wouldn't be super happy. And do you know how you end up sometimes here? It's the decisions you make, right? I want to give you an example. If you've studied trigonometry, okay, you're going to tell me that the angle of difference here is extremely small. Do you agree with me? Yeah? So this angle could be maybe 18 degrees or whatever. So generally speaking, in our life, we do pursue different opportunities where we kind of like don't feel too out of our comfort zone, and they're really small steps sometimes. Like, some people immigrate from Dubai to Canada, Australia, the US, the UK, so on and so forth. This is a classic example. However, what happens is, while the angle here is small, can you see where it takes you in 20 years? Can you see, while the angle was really small, where it would take you in 20 years? So what happens is, generally speaking, this is what happens. People make these short-term decisions that are taking them away from their vision, and then year 1 takes them further away, and then year 5 takes them further away. But generally speaking, people do not veer too far away from their natural blueprint. They want to stick around to where they feel their life vision should be. And essentially speaking, what happens is, at year 5, you get this financial or spiritual or educational or family or health awakening, and you go, oh my God, I'm not supposed to be going here. Because if I follow this path, I'm going here. I want to go there. And essentially speaking, what you do is correct yourself. This correction, in the strategic visions language, we call wasted time, resources, and money. Have you seen tons of people who decide to move to a new country and then decide it's not working out for me? Or after 5 or 6 years, they decide, oh, they're missing too many of the good times back home with family, maybe marriages, births, deaths have happened and they've not attended, or they're finally thinking about how their kids are missing out on their culture, so on and so forth. It doesn't happen with everybody, but it happens with a lot of people. What essentially then takes place is they go on a corrective course. But this corrective course, would you agree, costs a lot of time and money, which is resources that are wasted? Give me a comment in the comment section if you agree on that. Now, generally speaking, this is what happens because people's blueprint in their mind sticks to them, right? So you don't forget all of a sudden where it is that you wanted life to take you, right? And when you're going down this path, even though you made a small decision and you feel like, oh my God, I don't want to go there, you want to autocorrect, but autocorrection doesn't happen. You go from here to maybe here where you still might be far away. Maybe this is also too close. You might end up over here, which still might be very far away. Now, I've got a question. Now, I wanted to answer this question to you. This is how I started. how do you define if something or any decision you're about to make is an opportunity or a risk? An opportunity for you or a risk? How do you define that, okay? I'm going to give you a simple example so I can bring this video to a close. It's gone quite long. Anything that takes you away from your long-term vision is a risk. And anything that takes you further down your path to fulfillment of your vision is an opportunity. So how do I describe this? If you had something that was a decision that would take you further away from your vision, this is going to be defined as a risk. Whereas if there was a decision that would take you further down here, then further down here, then further down here, that is an opportunity that takes you further along where you want to be. So now the question would be, what if you do that, but it doesn't turn out well for you? It's okay. So if even you go down this path and you did not succeed in going further, it's okay, because at least you are on the path of achieving your vision, okay? For instance, if you needed to go, I'll use Dubai's example. If you needed to get to your best friend's wedding in Abu Dhabi, Dubai is here, Abu Dhabi is here, and let's say you get into your car, yeah, and the car breaks down on the way, there's another car passing by and says, hey, listen, we're headed towards Abu Dhabi, you can jump in. Now, they're going to take you further down to where you want to go, which is Abu Dhabi. There's a wedding going on there, right? But if another car was passing by and saying, we're going in the opposite direction, Sharjah, you just don't jump in it because it takes you away from your vision. Same thing applies. If this is what you dream of, financially secure, family, intellectually developed, spiritually and health, and you want to do this, you're going to be making the decisions, life choices, subconsciously or consciously, that take you down that path. I hope this was helpful. I do run a course on this. I don't charge money for this course. You pay only for food and the room rental. It's a 3-day course, but I run it on a 1 day only. I haven't done one. Well, I've done one, I think, in 2020 as well. But anyways, I make the course really compact. It's just information I'd like to share with people so that they can benefit out of this, right? And this helps regardless of where you are in your life, whether you're a real estate investor, agent, ready to get married, ready to start a business, so on and so forth. If you want to work with me personally, specifically on real estate, there is a contact form. You can reach out to me. I do charge a fee. If you've got questions, you can hit me in the comment section below. General questions I'll answer on YouTube. Ciao for now. Bye.